Hello and welcome back to the Stoneburner Books YouTube channel. Today we are going to go through my bookbinding kits and we're going to make a book, and I'm going to show you everything that's in the kit. So let's get started. First off, when you order one, you will get it either wrapped in this kind of a wax paper, or I do sometimes reuse some plastic sleeves that I buy my other paper in. So it will either look like this or it be in a clear sleeve. And then once you open it up, hold on, it's gonna be loud for a second. Okay. Once you open it up, you get a couple different things in your kit. So one of the first things that I think pretty important is written instructions about what to do. So those are great if you want to keep a reference copy, but I do again have videos here on my YouTube channel to give instructions if you're better with a visual learning style. You will get 3 different cover papers, and then with each cover paper comes 6 pieces of regular paper that are going to be for your pages. So they're all stacked like that. You also get a needle and thread. I choose the thread colors that I think look best with the papers. But once you get them, you can choose which one you think will look best with whichever particular cover. I try to give you a variety of 3 different colors, so you're not just getting all of one color. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to kind of go through this. The only other tools that you would need would be a pair of scissors. Any scissors will work. And then I also have a tool called an awl. I like this for poking the holes through for sewing, but you can use the needle that's provided. I always give a fairly thick needle, so you can use that to poke your holes through. So I'm going to set these other materials aside, and we're just going to get started on our first one. I think I'm going to use, it's kind of like a rusty orange color thread, but it goes really well with some of these butterfly colors. So first thing you're going to do is take your pages, and they are all stacked together, and so you're just going to fold them right in half. You can do them individually, one page at a time, or you can fold them all together. I am using a folder, a Teflon folder. Again, if you don't have one of those, you can just simply use your fingers to smooth it out. Okay, so we'll set that aside, and then we are going to fold our cover paper with the design on the outside. And again, this is just a pro tip here. I don't smash this down all the way when I'm making this crease. I do it kind of loosely. Let's see, can you see how it's got a little bit of space there in the spine? And that's because it will leave space for my pages to go in. So that's the next step, is just kind of open up your cover and put your pages inside of it. Okay, so they are nestled nice and tight in there. In the instructions, the next step is to measure out your holes. So what I like to do, I'm going to get my instructions here. So I like a 1-inch space between each edge. So that's going to be, I'm going to take my pencil and put a little hole, a little mark right here, and then an inch in here, and then we're going to do 2 3/4 right there as well. So a ruler is a great tool to have for this project. However, it's not necessary. A lot of these, when I'm making like teeny tiny books like this one that I just include free in my orders, I just eyeball it. So I'll put a hole right in the middle, and then I'll put a hole close to each edge, but you don't want it too close because you don't want it to rip out of the edge. So I always start, once I have my marks made, just kind of double check that your pages and your cover are set in together and they haven't slipped out of alignment. And then I use my awl to put it right there on that mark, and then just carefully push through. Notice my hands are way over here. They're not anywhere close to where that's going to go through. If I want to do it using my needle that's provided, what I would do is just put it through and then just kind of push and wiggle. You can see I use that needle just in the same way, but again, my fingers are way far away from there. The needle works fine. The thing about the awl that's a little bit nicer is that you have a handle and you can it helps you push it through. So that's the only difference in kind of, you know, this still functions and we'll get it through because these papers aren't super thick, and you don't have a ton of them. So that the needle will work fine, but an awl, you can get this at a specialty like art store. You can find them at hardware stores, but often they're not as thin of a point. So you could find it at a hardware store, but they might be a little bit chunkier. So just some options. I'll put a link to this one down in the description in case you want to get an awl. If you're going to start your bookbinding journey, they are a really helpful tool. Okay, now that we have our holes punched, what we're going to do is thread our needle, and these are fairly big eyes. One little tip that I have for you is to use your nail to flatten out the waxed linen thread, and that just helps make threading the needle a little bit easier. Okay, so I leave a little bit of a tail here, and then starting with my center hole, I will sew in from the inside to the outside, and then I leave a good chunk of thread. That's probably about 2 inches of thread, maybe like 1.5 to 2 inches, and I hold it with my thumb. And then I go to one of the other holes. Doesn't matter if you go top or bottom hole, whatever is more comfortable for you. And then from here, I'm going to bring it all the way down to this last hole. So we're going to have a nice long stretch of thread across the middle. And when we pull our thread through in a second, we want to try to get each end on either side of this thread. I'll explain more about that. So this is what it looks like right now on the outside. We've got one piece of thread here, and we're going to go back through to our center hole. And this one's just tricky in that you want to make sure you're not putting your needle through this other piece of thread. So if you'll notice, I pulled this one to the side a little bit to kind of get it out of the way. And then I'm going to go in that same hole. And I'm doing it slowly. Let's see if I can get a close-up of that. So I'm doing it kind of slowly so that I can see that I'm not going through this thread and that I'm coming up on the other side of this piece of thread, this long piece. So what we want to do now is kind of just gently tug on these. It doesn't matter that these two are different sizes because we're going to cut off the excess. So you want one piece on either side. That is because we're going to tie a knot, and when we tie our knot, we want this middle piece of thread in between, and so it's all wrapped up and knotted together. That way it wouldn't pull through, the knot couldn't come through this center hole. It's got this piece of thread anchoring it. Okay, so we're going to do right over left and then left over right. So just 2 knots there, and then I like to leave about a 1/2 inch of thread or so as my tails, just so that it doesn't wiggle out of that knot. And because this is waxed thread, you can kind of smush it down to each other, to itself, and it will stay much better. If you've got a folder, then you can just go ahead and smooth that out like that. And you've got your little notebook. So you can decide if you want to trim the edges so that they're all straight, the pages and the cover, or you can leave it. I make it so that the cover extends a little bit, kind of how it would be in a hardcover book. But you know, you can decide if you want to trim down everything so it's flush. So these are a really great gift if you are trying to give people experiences, not just finished products, so then you can learn how to bookbind. These are also great if you're just trying to learn bookbinding, have something fun to do that's not too difficult, but can get you, you know, kind of interested in bookbinding and learn more about it. So each kit comes with enough to make 3 little notebooks like this, and then you've got your little notebook that you can use. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll put a link to the kits down in the description, and I hope you have fun bookbinding. Have a great day. Bye.